Our understanding of stewardship in the church is shaped by the Greek word oikonomia, which gives rise to our words for stewardship and service and ministry. That word specifically refers in the Bible to stewardship or management of a household. Or often it refers to God's stewardship or management of the creation or of the universe. And as I said before, there are several familiar biblical narratives we use to talk about stewardship, and I want to flesh out that understanding of stewardship more vividly by talking about our households. Specifically, let me stop there and just say, now, I'm not going to talk about your households by going into your bank account. I'm not going to be boundaryless and intrusive. I am, however, going to talk about our notion of household, not just in terms of how we manage our money and possessions. I want us to conceive of household or talk about households or reflect on our households in the language of blessing, as gift, as possibility, as a revelation of abundance that implicates us in the stewarding of it and in how we respond to it as blessing. You see, I maintain that our households, our abundance, not the way empires calculate abundance, but our households, our abundance, are revelations of God's intent for us and for the creation, and require a faithful response. And so the question is begged, what does a faithful response to abundance look like? Go back and look at Israel's experience in wilderness and exile. In anticipation of a return from exile, when the prophets offer prophecies of deliverance for God's people, those prophecies, and you can look at Isaiah or Jeremiah and even some of the minor prophecies, but those prophecies reveal a consistent picture of God's intent for all of creation. No matter what led to the breach in covenant, no matter how long or how oppressive their time in exile was, upon the return of the people, there is reconciliation with God. There is renewal of covenant. And in renewing that covenant, in affirming and confirming the promise of reconciliation, God offers a vision of shalom, of peace, of fullness, of completeness, of well-being for the people. And that's why the prophet Ezekiel could say it the way he said it, about safety, about a land. Ezekiel's prophecy of deliverance is a vivid illustration of both God's intent and the people's expectation of a reconciled covenant with God. Through Ezekiel, God declares, I will make them and where they live a blessing. There will be showers of blessings. And so God's promise of showers of blessings is the theological context in which the churches in Macedonia and the churches in Corinth, and yes, even Plymouth Church, can know themselves as reconciled and know what is expected of them when Paul requests their participation in the offering. See, yes, we don't take up an offering. You see, as the reconciled people of God, they now have to discern how they are going to respond to the grace of God. How are they going to respond to these showers of blessings emanating from God's promise of fullness, completeness, and well-being? And so when we get to Paul, in Paul's second letter to the Corinthians makes clear that as for as long as there have been churches, there has been the need for church leaders to make appeals for taking up collection. So don't blame me. Don't blame me. You see, when the apostles who accompanied and served with Jesus in his earthly ministry affirmed Paul's mission throughout the world, they told him, remember the poor, which Paul declared he was most eager to do. So first, to the churches in Corinth, Paul made an appeal for a commitment. And I envision them doing it the way we do it, only in their cultural and historical context, making a stewardship appeal and having people indicate their commitments. And from this letter, it looks like the members of the churches in Corinth were eager to fill out their pledge cards and indicated that they were going to commit with enthusiasm. They were there, they understood the appeal, and they wanted to participate, but their actual participation came up a little short. They either did not follow through or they lost interest in the work. Whatever happened, there was a disconnect. So as a reminder to the Corinthians, Paul writes what looks a little like a fundraising letter, something like you're going to get in the mail from me, asking them to excel in the act of giving and to tell them how the churches in Macedonia responded to the appeal to commit and to give, to inspire the more prosperous Corinthians to participate in the collection. Paul points out that the Macedonian churches are doing well. But the Macedonian churches may have had more practical and financial reasons for being less than generous. You see, the Macedonians have experienced hardship and persecution, and yes, they are poor. But their poverty, but their condition of suffering does not shake their identity as a reconciled people of God, with all the joy and showers of blessings, spiritual if not material, that come with who they are. Yes, they are poor, but they want to be a part of it. Their response out of extreme poverty, Paul says they overflowed in a wealth of generosity. What accounts for it? What accounts for that response? That out of extreme poverty, they were eager to give. You see, they not only committed and gave, but they did so of their own will, begging to participate when everyone would have understood if they could not participate because they've been through so much. But if the example of the churches in Macedonia doesn't inspire the Corinthians to participate, then perhaps a reminder of how grace, how God's shower of blessings have inspired them over the years. The Corinthians have excelled in faith, in speech, in knowledge, and in eagerness, so they know how to excel in the act of giving. They know how to respond faithfully to an extravagantly generous God who has showered them in spiritual and material blessings. Yes, the Macedonian and Corinthian households are gifts, possibilities, revelations of abundance, showers of blessings. But remember God's promise from the prophet. Not only will God bless where they live, God also makes them a blessing. Oh, what is it like to know deep down that they are a blessing? Their response? They give. They share. They give willingly. Oh, I see Plymouth Church reflected in the experiences of both the churches in Macedonia and the churches in Corinth. I see them in both their eagerness and their reluctance. Someone pointed out to me that over a period of 6 years, Plymouth went from a senior minister transition to a heart-wrenching debate about our embroideries to an interruption of our community life due to COVID. Oh, we have known the ordeal of affliction. We have experienced the rupture in the calm of church unity. Oh, we know what loss feels like. And Plymouth is also known for its excellence. God has made us and made this church a blessing. We excel in faith. We excel in speech, in knowledge, and in eagerness. And yes, even outside these walls, the community around us knows about our works. Oh, they only need listen to the art and listen to the music, the singing, see the art. They only participate in our intellectual and spiritual program, our social justice commitments, and our campaigns. Oh, we know how to give. So that means that the Plymouth household has known showers of blessings. And yes, we have known the ordeal of affliction. And both of these experiences have prepared us to share in the ministry of giving and in the discipline of stewardship. Oh, it is not a boast to testify that Plymouth Church is a blessing, a gift, a possibility, a revelation of abundance. It's just a question of response. Can these material blessings be a means to cultivate faith, nurture connection, and amplify love? Can our generosity be both a blessing and a witness to a world looking for beloved community, looking for evidence of God's abundance, even in the midst of poverty? Oh yes, we know, we've heard it before. We know what discipleship calls us to do. We are called to be good stewards of the great blessing God bestows upon us. We are called to share our bounty with the world. It is true, we would not be able to bring this ministry to you without the generous offerings of time, talent, and treasure. But there is also the matter of who and whose we are. We are God's beloved, reconciled in covenant with a generous God who makes us and where we live a blessing. We are awash in showers of blessings. That is the theological context for our stewardship. That is the theological context in which we live and breathe and sing. It flows to us. It flows to us even when we don't expect it. It flows to us. And so now we can go all in as faithful stewards, not as a transactional enterprise, but as a testament to what we value, who we trust, where our hearts truly are. Oh, we have so much to offer to God, to God's work, both material and spiritual. Our lives, our trust, our gratitude will determine how we show up in this ministry. Our giving, whether time, talent, or treasure, will reflect the wealth within, who and whose we are, recipients of showers of blessing. Oh, even in the midst of a global pandemic, even in the midst of so much change and uncertainty, we have received showers of blessings. And so now, on this day, we set apart for that intentional discernment, intentional time to discern how to respond to God's generosity, trying over and over again to live, act, and worship as faithful stewards over God's good gifts. So behold, beloved, we have been made a blessing. There has been showers of blessing flowing to us. I pray that our response will be willing generosity. May it be so.